I don't have ownership. It's just a business. It doesn't exist beyond me. It's just something I do.
So, Mark.
Yeah.
Thank you for being on time today.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Do you remember the last time we were together?
Yeah, you weren't on time.
Who makes Mark Bouris late?
Yeah.
An hour and a half.
Yeah, I know. It wasn't good. But it's all good now.
I don't know how you ended up interviewing me, but I'm so glad that you're here.
Well, I was actually intrigued by your business model, to be frank with you, and I still am. I'm intrigued as to how people can do things like you've done, like disrupt the dental market, effectively. You disrupted dentists. Who would ever thought dentists were going to be disrupted?
Well, they're my friends now. I don't know how. They're all giving me free teeth cleans at the moment.
Yeah?
So I'm like, oh, that's great.
They want something.
Mark, you are Australia's most well-known businessman, a legend in business.
Thank
I
you.
look up to you. You're like my mentor. Everything I could possibly want, you're around for. But what people don't often know is that you're from the West. So am I. Isn't it great?
West Sydney. Well, I'm actually proud about that. It is great. It's great that it's actually great that there's females who are successful in business, or not just successful, but females who are proud of it coming from the West. Females who are doing lots of great things and having a crack.
Exactly.
That's really important.
But like, what makes you, so coming from the West, what made you get there? Like, essentially with motivation. Like, for me, I don't come from money. I wasn't born into it. I had, every single bit of my business that I've started today is from myself.
Yep.
Tell me a little bit about you.
A lot of people think it because of where I grew up that it might have motivated me. To be honest with you, it didn't. I don't mind saying. I grew up in a pretty stable family. Great mum and dad.
Yep.
Dad's still alive. Mum passed away a couple of years ago, but she had a good innings. Went to her late 80s. Brother and sister, we weren't rich.
Are you the eldest?
I'm the eldest of the family.
Yep.
My dad worked in a factory. We didn't have any money or anything, but I had a pretty stable upbringing, so I never really felt. I didn't have this urge, nor did I have a chip on my shoulder to to sort of become really successful. I didn't really understand success, to be honest with you, but I was always a competitive kid.
Yep. Sport?
Everything.
Yeah.
I mean, not like overly, but like if I was sort of, I was always up for a dare in a competitive sense.
So if you're going to put your mind to something, you do 100% in it.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
I was sort of lucky too. I'm fairly lucky. I can do well at school. I played piano. I was a musician.
You have a bio that's beyond, Mark, honestly. Like, I look at the bio that's on the internet and it says 500 million that you sold Wizard Home Loans for. Then you've, the chairman of Yellow Brick Roads now. You've been on Apprentice, Celebrity Apprentice, TV ads. Every single thing Mark has his hands in. Yeah,
well, I've been lucky because I think, I'll be honest, from my point, it's just
it's not luck.
Well, I have been lucky in that those things have presented themselves to me, and I have been lucky in that before we started this podcast, I said to you that I'll have a crack at anything.
Yep.
I never overthink anything. I never, before I started, I overthink things once I'm in it, but I don't overthink things before I start it. And so therefore I'm not afraid to do anything. And I wasn't as a kid. I would do it. I would climb a tree.
Are you afraid to fail?
No.
No, not at all. No. There's no ifs or buts?
I don't think about it. I don't, well, I put it another way. I don't fear failure, but I don't want to fail. And I do everything I can not to fail, but I don't fear it.
So do you put structures in place to make sure that, so say, for example, the podcast. Let's just go about the podcast. You were offered to go on a podcast. You said yes, of course, that's your personality. You get into it and you're like, okay, what are my structures? Is it weekly that you know that on Wednesday you have to be at that podcast? Is there stuff that happens before the podcast to get there?
Yeah, well, in the beginning there was. It's pretty unstructured now because, to be honest with you, and I don't want it to sound disrespectful, but I don't look at my guest bio until I literally 5 minutes before I walk into the podcast, and I just go and do it because I've done plenty of them now. I've done hundreds. But in the beginning, yes. So I do that when I make speeches and all sorts of things. I structure in my brain. I don't write anything down, but I structure my head There's a process, and I adhere to process and structure in pretty much everything I do. Like it doesn't, which this whole COVID period has been a challenge for me.
I want to dive into that in a minute.
Because it has sort of upset my structure a little bit. A lot,
All of us.
Yeah, getting out of bed in the morning, because I get out of bed not because I consciously want to get out of bed. I just get out of bed because that's part of my structure. I get out of bed at a certain time.
What
I go
time
to the
is
gym.
it?
Normally I get out of bed like 4:30, like around that territory.
But it seems to be in a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners that they are getting up at that time. I'm getting up at that time as well.
Well, I got to do that. I had to do that to fit everything in.
Yeah, mine's the same, but mine's all about structure. The first thing I have to do is make my bed. That's the first thing that I essentially accomplish in the morning.
Yeah, I can't stand an untidy bed.
Yeah, same.
Well, it's not because I want to do it in the morning. It's because I don't want to come home at night and see it untidy because it sort of does my head in.
Yeah.
Because I think our business life is so untidy.
Yeah.
Like it's just full of rubbish, and like you're forever emptying out the rubbish bin in business. Like taking stuff out of your backpack and throwing it out and saying, I'm not carrying that shit around anymore. So you're forever cleansing and cleaning and backfilling and, like cleaning shit up. So the last thing I want in my life is that when I come home at night, I don't want to, it sounds silly, but I can't, I will go mental if the bed's messy.
Yeah.
I don't like to see messy stuff laying around. I'm probably not efficient. I'm not, I don't like to see, I'll put 3 things in the washing machine.
Yeah.
It's not full. Some people like to wait for the washing machine to be full. Some people like to wait for the dishwasher to be full.
Yep.
If I got 6 things on the sink that look dirty, I'm happy to put in the dishwasher and run a cycle. I know everyone's going to freak out and say that's really environmentally unfriendly, but like I got to do that to satisfy my own
environment
problems,
yeah,
instabilities. Like I can't stand mess.
I love speaking to entrepreneurs. It's so
I can't have mess. Be different if I had a really simple business life where everything was
straight
going perfectly. Mm-hmm. But my business life, and I don't think anyone's business life ever goes perfectly.
There's no such thing.
It moves around all the time, and I can't control it.
Yep.
So that's why I am like that at home. Everything is arranged.
But it just shows that home life and business life has to be hand in hand. If it's not, it goes even worse.
Yeah, totally. It's funny. I think it's, to be honest, I think it's like an insecurity. I have probably got some insecurities that I probably never sat down and thought about, and nor would I be prepared to admit to, because my addiction or my compulsiveness around dealing with the security is actually a positive thing. It's not like I'm out there washing my hands 1,000 times and getting rashes on my hands, or I'm addicted to something because of my compulsion to poker machines or drugs or whatever. These are positive addictions, positive compulsions, and they help me do well in what I do. So therefore I keep them going. But they are all about dealing with some insecurities I must have.
I agree. And do you think it comes back from younger years?
Probably. I got 4 kids, and I have a strong view on how you get raised and how you raise your own kids. I mean, my view on that is it's not what you tell them, it's what you show them. And
I got a story about that one.
My parents showed me, my dad's 86. You go inside his house, he's got a big house in Mossman. He does all the cleaning himself. He does all his washing. Saturday morning, I go there every Saturday. He's got the clothes out on the line, washing's on the line, assuming it's not raining. He's already vacuum cleaned the house out. You go into his freezer, everything's all lined up in his freezer, because I buy him enough fish for every month, and he has it all lined up in days and things. And I saw that as a kid growing up. I didn't know what I was looking at. I didn't realise it, but I'm like that now.
Yeah.
Because it's easy, it works for me, and I don't have to think about it. I know exactly where my keys are when I come in the house, where I put them down the same place. Exactly. Thieves, if you're listening, but I got a big fucking German Shepherd too, so be careful. But I put them in the same place. I do everything the same.
Yeah, same.
I don't want to have to think about it. Even my clothes, I pretty much do everything, wear the same clothes, same colours. I do everything it's like regimental.
I'm exactly the same as you as that.
It's easy to think.
Going back to your point about you watched what your parents, it's not about what they do, it's what they actually do in the situation. One day I was suspended from school. Back in, I think I was in year 11, I was suspended from school. And I was so scared to go home this particular day, and I thought, I've got to go tell Mum that I'm suspended. What she actually did that day was didn't ground me. She said, all right, you're coming to work with me for the next 3 days. At the time she was working in mental health, and she was working in like a women's refuge. And I went with her and I realised what it was actually like. what Mum actually showed me is that you come from a good family. We all love you. We all support you. We take you to sport every single week. We give you, your Billabong and Roxy clothes that you want. You're playing up. You're being a kid that's not where you come from, Alison. And they're the points that showed me for where I got to today.
I think that's my dad. My dad did something similar to me. Like it wasn't because I was naughty, but when I was probably 12 or 13. And then my brother and sister had to do it too as well. My dad was a cleaning contractor at night. He had another job in a factory during the day, but he was a cleaning contractor. So he made me – he didn't make me. He coerced me to come to the contracting work after school at the place where we used to do it in out west. And we used to clean these real estate agencies up. And my job was to clean out all the – in those days, you had ashtrays in the office. I had to clean all the ashtrays and I had to clean all the garbage tins. I had to clean toilets. And it was a pretty big place. And I used to be horrified by this. But I got $5 for it. But I did it for years. And then my brother had to do it, my sister had to do it. But I think probably what Dad was trying to show me was, mate, this is how you work and you just got to be prepared to clean up. And today it's funny, today – I remember when I used to do it, I used to get really upset when I used to go to pick up a bin, and instead of putting something in the bin, they might just drop it on the side of the bin. I think,
why do they do that?
Yeah, why are you doing that? And now today, we have a cleaner comes in our building. Yeah. I could never drop a paper next to my bin because I keep thinking about what I remember when I was a kid.
I agree.
And because I'm not going to let Nick, our cleaner, and I just couldn't do it to Nick. I just can't do that. And so that's an example of being shown stuff as opposed to being told stuff. Dad never told me you must work hard. Dad never told me you got to be prepared to clean up and stuff like that. Now it's second nature to me.
Showed you morals and ethics and what actually it's like to be in business. Yeah. It's not hard to be a good person.
No, totally. You don't have to be an arsehole to be a good business person.
I could not agree more.
Most people think you have to be.
No. You have to know what you're worth.
Just be
you know what
decent.
You bring to the table. But I agree. Mark, you've lived through the GFC, you've lived through Royal Commissions, you've lived through it all. Also, you've lived through the coronavirus.
Yeah.
Now, let's go back to the day the coronavirus started. I called you.
Yeah, that's right.
And I said, Mark, this is a situation that's going on in my business, and et cetera, et cetera. You said, Alison, I'll call you tomorrow, but take the emotion out of it. That was one of the best pieces of advice I've ever had. The next day, it was all about facts. It was about what's going on, getting through the situation. How do you take emotion out of business? Because it's so hard, like it's your baby. This is what I've grown from the ground up, and to take emotion out is very, very, very hard.
Well, probably part of it, which it might be some sort of a revelation, is I actually lack emotion.
Okay.
As a person.
Yeah.
I'm not an emotional person. Like I can go to movies and everyone's crying, I don't cry. Yeah. And I'm not some tough guy. It's just I don't have that emotion in me. So
Mark,
my only emotion.
That you say that, I'm not butting in, but I essentially wouldn't cry over something either. But the emotion of it's your baby, what's going to happen tomorrow?
But I don't have ownership. I don't feel like I would never say this is mine or I never feel that way. It's just a business.
Yeah.
It's not it doesn't exist beyond me. What I mean by that is it's not a thing.
Yeah.
It's just something I do. And like all the things, they're just things I do. Yeah. And I can change and do something else later on down the track. I can just change around. And even when I wasn't successful as I am today, I didn't have the runs on the board like I have today. Even that was the same then. I don't get overly. The only emotion that I ever get, to be honest with you, is anger.
Yep. And why is that?
I can control my anger. I manage my anger, but these days. But when I was younger, I could get quite angry quickly. Not a temper, just get angry, like
just
inside.
Lose it.
Yeah, totally. And I try to manage it. I don't know why it is. It's probably maybe because I don't have I don't sort of experience all the other feelings as much. Therefore, maybe I just my person just puts more emphasis on that one particular emotion.
Yep.
You will rarely see me get angry, but I'm not you, but
don't
just
want
generally.
to be in the
But I'm not, because I know how to manage it these days. But it was a problem for me like 20 odd years ago. It was a problem for me, and I had to manage it.
So going back 21 years ago when it was a problem in business, obviously it was becoming a problem in business.
Yeah.
What was the turning point where like, okay, I've got to change this?
Just, I don't think there was one. I think it was just maturity. I just matured and realised. It took me a long time to realise that you shouldn't do that, and it's not good, not cool. And also, it's not good from a business point of view.
It's not. It doesn't.
It upsets everybody.
It doesn't become a happy family. The house is not happy.
Well, people get scared.
Yeah.
There used to be a saying in the Wizard days, which is 20 odd years ago. I didn't know this until many years later, but they used to call it a Bourising. You got a Bourising. And that used to be me just paying out on somebody, like giving them a hard time. And it wasn't until after I sold it that people started telling me about it. And I thought, well, my mum was sort of a good guide on these things.
I love it.
She used to say, don't get angry. Just don't get angry. Dad never gets angry.
Yeah.
My dad's really
stay calm,
quiet guy. He's very sensible and quiet and gentle.
Yeah.
And to a large extent, maybe not the turning point, but to a large extent, my maturity in this area probably came about as a result of me watching my parents and learning from them what is appropriate. Yep. My mother used to always say to me, be appropriate, act appropriately. So it's a learning process. You have to learn. I mean, I've had to learn how not to be angry. But equally, it's been good for me because I don't get emotional in terms of times of trouble or stress, or I never feel like, well, someone's doing the wrong thing by me.
Yep.
I don't think that. I think, no, they're doing their thing. This is what I'm going to do.
This is how I'm
and I'm going to deal with it this way. And this is my outcome I want to get. They're trying to prosecute their outcome, but my outcome, I own this outcome and I'm going to make it happen.
Yep.
And that's
it.
it.
So it shows how powerful you are, Mark. It's unbelievable to listen to it. Because,
just that.
No, because me being such a millennial in business, having these issues that are rising, back when we had a podcast, life was easy, life was good, it was all up, 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 up. You get to a stage in franchising where it is freaking hard.
It is it's a tough industry, franchising. Yeah. I mean, maybe I'm sort of scarred and I've done it for so long, and I just might be a crusty old bastard who's sort of experienced it all, and like you become a bit impervious to these things, and they don't affect you as much. But I work with some pretty important people or influential people in my life.
Yep. And who are they?
Well, one of the guys that I worked with for many, many years is a guy called David Babsky. He was the senior partner of the law firm I was at, and David was like a super bright guy. But I learnt about it was a Jewish law firm. Well, most of the clients were Jewish, and most of the people in the firm were Jewish.
Yep.
And they have this way about them, which is in business, which is like real revelation. It's never personal, it's just business.
Yep.
And I sort of watched him for many, many years, 7 years, and I learned a lot from him. And he used to always say to me, don't be emotional about it. Like he used to say to me, don't get angry, just get even. Those sorts of things. And and then after that I had many others like Kerry, etc. Kerry was never emotional about anything. It was just black or white. Like it's this or this, and one or the other. Which one you want to do? I mean, he got angry, but it was if it didn't go his way, it's like whatever. You lose a hand. I watched him lose hand over hand after hand in cards. I'm not talking about tens or hundreds of thousands. I'm talking about millions, and just get up the day and walk away.
Yeah. You win some, you lose some.
Correct.
Yeah.
But equally, he'd give away. He'd win and he'd give a whole lot of money away, and he wouldn't get all gooey about it. It was just a transaction. He'd say, you were the croupier or someone maybe serving him lunch or something, and he thought you were nice and you were pleasant towards him, which was a bit unusual for him.
Yep.
He'd give you $200,000, and it wasn't because he wanted anything from you.
He didn't want your sympathy. It was just
it's transact here, and you deserve it. Here's your money, and see you later. And he would never hear from him again, and you'd never see him again. He didn't do it for outcomes, and I think you shouldn't do anything for gratification.
I could not agree more.
You just do it. It's business. You're doing it. No gratification, because 9 times out of 10, no one's ever going to give a shit about you.
No one even gives a shit.
They're not going to say, "Oh wow, Alison, you made my life." If they do that, it's great, but
majority of people don't.
Most
see it like
don't.
That. Exactly, and especially in franchising, you can
totally.
do so much, and they only see what's in their life.
Correct. And I don't expect it either, by the way.
Neither do I at all.
Just-
I will never
just-
sit there and say, "I did this for you, did this for you, did this for you," because you're never going to.
Once you start thinking that, you're running a debit and credit system.
I could not agree more.
And it's never going to be even. It's never going to be debit equals credit. You're not going to ever get them even.
Yeah.
You're either going to be behind or ahead.
Yeah.
And that's dangerous.
I agree. We're going to leave it here, Mark. When we come back, I want to talk about coronavirus and talk about structure in business.
No worries.
Let's do it.
Are you wanting a dramatically whiter smile? If you're a coffee drinker or a lover of red wine, then Sparkling White Smile's Premium Ultra White treatment is for you. The Ultra White treatment consists of 2 sittings 1 week apart. This headlining treatment is tailored to leave your teeth up to 14 shades lighter post-treatment. For bookings and inquiries, send an email to info@sparklingwhitesmile.com.au. That's info@sparklingwhitesmile.com.au.
Welcome back, Mark.
Thank you.
So I really want to dive into the coronavirus. I want to dive into the positives and the negatives of what's come out of this. For me personally, it's been quite positive in a bad situation. The first couple of weeks in the coronavirus, horrendous, trying to get all my team in place, trying to get my house in order. But over time, my life was like running on, those mouses that run on back and forth on the...
Yeah.
That was my life before.
Treadmill.
A treadmill. I didn't realise what was actually happening in my life until I actually had 2 minutes to step back, look at everything and have a little bit of a break. What it's done for my business is ridiculous. A shit situation is, we can't take that away. But if I think as a business owner, if you put a shit situation into a positive situation, it can grow even bigger.
Yeah, I agree. It's I knew what was going on in your business because you spoke to me, I think, just
the day of.
Yeah. And I really didn't realize, I had no sense of what the COVID-19 was going to do. At that stage, it was just like a virus. Like we're thinking, it was like the flu or something. I wasn't quite sure about it all. I had no idea about the lockdowns and all the stuff that was going to ensue from that period, and not only here but globally. For me, during this period, I wrote a book some years ago, and one of my chapters in it was about stepping back.
Yep.
And I think everybody's in business, if you get the opportunity to, it's important to step back and have a look at yourself. What I mean by that is, if there's no coronavirus, you can't do it.
Yep.
But if you're like on the treadmill, like you were saying, sort of like remove yourself from yourself, stay on the treadmill, but you just remove yourself away from that in a metaphysical sense and just have a look at yourself. And it might be okay, you just go back on the treadmill, but people, I do it myself. I often pull myself back and watch myself wrestling in the mud.
Yep.
On stupid things.
Agree.
And
you're focusing on...
Get rid of them.
Yep.
Get them out of your backpack, empty the backpack, and just leave in there what you need.
I agree.
People are doing this in their houses during the COVID period. People have gone out and they said, okay, I'm going to clear everything. This is all rubbish in my house. I don't need this shit. I don't need that. I don't need it. What am I storing this half packet of whatever? People have actually gone and cleaned their joints up. They've gone in their wardrobes and said, hang on, I only need those 15 T-shirts. I've been storing this shit forever. Clean my drawers out.
They're having realisation.
Totally. I did in my office. I clean shit out of my office. That's what I mean by just taking a step back. And I think everybody should do that if you get an opportunity, because business can put you on a treadmill and you got your ears pinned back and not thinking about anything.
But the things that were bubbling in the background, because they were essentially in my life less important, I actually had a little bit more time to focus on. They actually are more important than what I was actually doing. And now when I look at the business structure, being able to change my whole entire house in order, the structures and how channels work, I've been able to focus on, this is actually a really good question. We'll talk about it later, but focus on, podcasts that I had in the making, and my new system of teeth whitening. That was a 2 years long-term track for me, because it was like, it's too far, it's too long, I just don't have enough time. Well, that's coming out in the next 2 months now. So these things, I'm just like, if I focus on these 5 important things, and rather than running from here to here to here to here to here when I don't actually essentially need to be there, and you can't be everywhere at once, but I thought I could be. And it's just been a big realisation for everybody. Yeah, as soon as the business opened up last week, we had hundreds and hundreds of appointments. But I was like, you know what? I have franchises, and these are what I don't need to be there. Essentially, if they're not my clients, I'm not going out there to do them. And I think the less important things that were bubbling in the background that I thought were actually way more important to grow the business. And it's been the biggest realization for me to just have a little bit of a break and a step back. And yeah,
well, in the beginning, that would have been confronting.
It was very confronting because I didn't really know how we're going to get out of it. But then it was day by day, just taking the facts of what's going on, how we're going to do it, putting the house in order, being as ethical and real as possible to the franchises, giving them as much advice as possible, being there for them and putting a little bit of emotion back into it. As much as you said, take the emotion out of it. Once the facts were already put on the table, it was all about growing the internal comms of the company. We've prevailed as such a big company, such an amazing company on the other end. And now the business has started back on, and I've never been in a better place.
If you can get yourself into that position as the leader of the business, the culture will be good, and the culture will reward you.
Yeah.
I mean, I think, like in my business, Yellow Brick Road, for example, the financial service business, we were always talking for a long time about the use of digital environments to
this is interesting.
Enhance our work environment and efficiency and productivity. I'm looking for productivity all the time, more productivity.
Yep.
But at the same time, and I'll be honest with you, I was always against people working from home. We had some women in the business who would put in a request to our HR department, and we got a lot of staff, and put in a request.
How many staff do you have?
Be close to 200, across Australia we got 2,500, but in the head office a couple of hundred. And they would put in a request to the HR department, can I work from home? I've got to pick my kids up or whatever, 2 or 3 days a week. And I don't like that. And I used to not like that, I should say. And I used to take a view, well, if they're going to work from home, they're going to bludge.
Exactly. I think the same thing.
But now...
the coronavirus has changed that idea.
Totally changed me. Now, I'm actually now been prosecuting in our own organisation with our HR guys, and and we got a new scheme, and everyone comes back to work on the 9th, so this next week. But we now have a different system. So our system is we built the business into pods. People only have to come in 1 day a week in their pod. And then the other days I work from home. Hours are flexible, but if you want to flex your hours, you have to get approval, so that just in case someone needs to contact you from the office. We built really good digital systems now whereby we can actually watch people logging in, logging out. We can see what their activity levels are. We have software which measures your activity level, so we know if you're taking the piss. And like, by the way, if someone decides they've got to go and want to spend some time with their kids after school or something, it's not an issue. We just want to know. And we'll be able to see from the activity on the computer. So it made us do this and made us revisit how much space we need to operate in. Like, space is expensive. And there are some people, by the way, who want to come to work because they don't have a compatible environment at home. It could be a bit drama at home, or just live in a small place or whatever.
Or they just like to get up, get ready and go to work.
So those people we accommodate as well. Most people like the idea of working from home, to be frank with you. And also they're saving time. They're not travelling. They're not sitting on trains. They're not getting sick by sitting on a train. Not exposing themselves to bloody flu or whatever.
And when they come to work, it can be a little bit social as well.
So they like to mix with the colleagues.
So it goes in both ways. But the work that gets done is at home. You do it a lot quicker and a lot more efficient, rather than sitting at your desk and talking to your neighbour and talking about experiences. It's done the same thing for me as well. Zoom is the best thing that's ever come involved.
I know.
Rather than getting on a plane and going to see everybody, you still have to go around and do it, I say, once a year, or et cetera, but you can easily get on a Zoom meeting and you can talk to someone in Perth.
I agree with that. I used to travel once a week, every week, somewhere.
Well, interstate?
Interstate. Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, Adelaide, or Perth. I don't know whether I need to do it anymore. I mean, I think face-to-face still is important. I just need to get a vibe from somebody. But equally, Zoom is pretty cool, and we also use Teams, Microsoft Teams as well. We use lots of different platforms, but Zoom's one of them. Zoom's
Google
one
Hangout
I enjoy.
as well.
And I even like TV interviews. If for Sky or something like that, I can do it through all various other ways of Skype.
Which you've seen on your Instagram.
So I'm enjoying that. But I don't want to get locked away in my office.
No. You get in your own little bubble, in your own little head. I couldn't agree more.
I come with my dog, and my dog's downstairs in the back of the car.
What dog do you have?
A German Shepherd, but he's downstairs.
Oh yeah, we talked about that before.
But like Matt's seen him in here. I bring him in here sometimes, but I thought I won't bring him in today because he'll be whinging and carrying on. But like just being locked away in my office with my dog that's not a good idea either. You know, you got to sort of somehow force yourself to meet people and talk to people, which is what the podcast does for me.
Yeah,
my podcast does that.
And
for me.
keeps your brain thinking as well.
I enjoy it.
Yep. It does. It's the same thing as me. I've nothing but better sitting here with you today. It's been awesome. And really dive into you for once. It's been awesome.
Thank you.
We're just talking about, me being so young and as a millennial in business. It's so nice to have someone like you around because it's all about who you have around in business. And I think for me, I have essentially you. I also have Brian, who is, he owned Mr. Wendy's.
Yep.
So he's my franchising consultant. I have an amazing legal
I remember
team.
I spoke with him.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah,
you
that's
did.
right. Yep.
And really good mentors around me. And I think that's what keeps you going as a young person, because a lot of the time is my emotion can sometimes take over because I just love what I do so much, and it's passion. Like passion takes over everything. And I think when you start to realize the facts and the facts and the facts, that's when it starts to change.
For me, most people, I do anyway, I forget about how young you are. You're only mid-20s. I won't say how old, I think you're 25, but in your mid-20s. And you've taken on a lot in a really fast, like it's like drinking water out of a fire hose for you. And you probably realised that when, you had a few issues around February and the coronavirus sort of hit. You can only drink so much. And eventually you're going to explode. And just to turn the tap down a bit. Probably good for you.
Which is what I did. And I think in that situation, it's all about choosing your battles.
Yeah.
You're not here to win the game. You're here to win the championship.
Yeah.
Do you agree?
Yeah,
and I think when you start to focus on winning on that, like as you said from Kerry before, he gave away this, he gave away that. He wasn't here to win the game. He didn't care about winning the game. It was long term for him. And he did. So did you. It's exactly the same. And I think when you have amazing people around you like that and they explain all that to you, it's not about those little things. Those little things can turn into something amazing. And if you turn it into a bad situation into a good situation, good on you.
Well, don't wrestle in the mud.
Yeah, don't wrestle in the mud.
Because wrestling is exhausting.
Yep.
And it will wear you out just every day. But we all do it, by the way.
Yep.
But you got to just step back and say, well, what am I doing? That's me down there.
Yep.
No. Get out. Let them roll around the mud. Just get out.
It's so true.
And just get on with other things.
Yep. It's so true. It's so true. Now, when I was on your podcast, Mark, I asked you asked me a question of whatever you wanted to know.
Yeah.
And I laugh about it so now. Imagine watching that podcast, this podcast, that how much time changes in a year. But you said to me, you need analytic in your business.
Yep.
And, I took that away from me. And before it was, everyone was kind of doing every job. We had, we were just selling so many franchises at the time. We just got so big so quickly. And you said if you get so big so quickly and don't have structure, and structure's so big in your world, it will fall apart.
Yep. And
I think I did get so big so quickly and I didn't have the right people in the right areas, and it didn't fall apart. Nothing has fallen apart. But, I had to have a realization to have, okay, you need a business operations manager.
Yep.
You need a good CFO. You need this, Alison, and you need to spend money on that, because if you're not going to spend money on that, you are not going to be able to grow anymore. And I think business goes up, and then it goes a little bit to straight, and then it goes up again.
Yep.
And, I had to go to that straight realization to realize, okay, I need this person, this person, this person, this person in this area. And it costs you money, but is it worth it?
Yeah, you asking me, is it worth it?
Is it worth it, Mark? Because I've seen nothing.
I can't operate without those people. Yeah. I mean, without those people in the structure. So, Yellow Brick Road, I think there's a period in the mentor business, we don't have that.
Yeah.
Because we're largely a content marketing business.
Yeah. Can I just butt in for a second as well? Over the coronavirus, your business as the mentored media, I've actually now one of your clients.
Yeah.
You guys are doing creative content for us. You're also doing obviously our podcast, doing all the creative behind the scenes. And what I didn't realize is that's what my business needed. It got to a point where I had all the PR behind it, everything. And I think business goes in a bit of a U shape. So, you get the PR behind it. always needs PR, always needs branding behind it, reputation. But then I needed to show what we were actually doing.
Content.
I needed to show that, these before and after photos, people don't want to see the same thing every single day. They're sick to death of seeing the same jobs, the same before and after photos. Teeth whitening is teeth whitening. At the end of the day, it's only you can get white teeth. So I think I needed to have a little bit more of an oomph to take it to the next level. And now our creative agency, what we're doing is unbelievable. And, you're part of this agency, and Matt, unbelievable at what he does. The best I've ever worked with ever in my life.
No, he's very good, which is why I partnered up with him. That's what I do. I recognise people are good at what they're doing, and then I go and partner up with them and try and make them better.
Or, I can give out any idea of, they know exactly what my business is, and I can say, this is the brand guidelines, this is what I'm looking to do, and they execute on absolutely everything within 24 hours.
Yeah, well, speed to market is really important,
I agree.
especially in your business. Retail, you've got to be quick to market, and you've got to have good content.
I would hate to work for me because I want everything done yesterday. So he knew that when coming into business, but every single thing has been above and beyond, and I'm so impressed, and I couldn't recommend.
Well, he's over there smiling his head off. I mean, I don't know if this is written in the script or not, but
honestly, from the heart, I'm so passionate in good people, and I love people that are good at what they do.
Well, look, in retail, which what you do, and being
customer service
and retail marketer, though, you're going to tell the market you need good content, and you need variety, and you need to entertain people, and you need to educate people
and keep people interested.
Otherwise, because you're competing with it, like just on my own feed, like you're on my feed, but the number of people comes from a feed, like I can't keep up with it, and most people come on my podcast I follow, and like just your stories, like I've only got so many hours in the day to read stuff, and unless it's interesting, I'll just flick through, and that's everyone's behaviour. So you got to try and keep me interested in what you're doing, not me, but not necessarily, but your audience, and that's where content becomes key, and how you produce it. It must be produced well, and it must be created well and thought through and edited. It's got to be edited well. It just can't be a piece of shit like, I'll do it myself and have a video. Yeah. And that's where Matt and his business, that's what those guys do a good job of. But it needs someone like you to drive it.
Exactly.
You're going to be available for the content.
Always. I'm 100% across all the marketing. Even though I have a marketing team behind me, the marketing director, et cetera, I am so across the marketing because no one can do it better than what you can do it
100%.
In your brand. You are the brand. It is your brand. And when I say to Matt, it's a little bit off my brand a little bit, and he's like, no, bring it back. But that's somebody who's really good at their job.
Yeah,
because they can understand where you're coming from, and they know that this is how you want it done. And I just love working with people like that.
I think that, this is a new era.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never seen it like this before. I mean, I went through the era of television advertising. You get an agency and they do an ad for you. You'd spend $200,000 producing the ad. You'd book 3 months worth of advertising. You pay for an advance. You don't get your money back if you pull the ad. So you're stuck with the ad. If the ad didn't work, you're in trouble.
And you only know 50% if it works or not.
Then you never know. Me, I never knew.
Well, that's what Brian always says to me. You don't actually know if it works or not. I'm like, trust me, I do.
But on television I didn't. But like these mediums, what we use today, most people don't know how to use them properly. They just think, I'm just going to get on Instagram and just keep doing the same thing over and over again. Oh, that works. But maybe someone's saying you look terrific or something, but is that actually that audience good for you? Are you analysing that data, and are you sort of refining it and or twisting and turning it to make it work better for you, so you actually get someone to ring up and get their teeth done? Because at the end of the day, that's what it's about.
I think
and or franchisees as well.
They have to see it 27 times before they'll call up.
Yeah.
So that's how important it is to be like I was telling you, I can't even explain how much money we spend in marketing. Yeah. Marketing is everything to us.
You've got to be prolific.
Yeah.
Gary Vee, be prolific in marketing.
Every single cent that comes in this company goes back out in marketing.
Yeah.
And it's going to be for the first, everyone says 5 years, it's going to be 10 years before, especially because you're going to keep innovating, you're going to keep changing the way things are going to be. And then you've got to explain to everybody that you've got to make that fashionable. It's like it doesn't stop kind of thing.
Nothing stays the same.
Nothing stays the same. And for us, like we're about to bring out the biggest thing in teeth whitening. And I've been working on it for 2 years before, but I've finally been able to do it over the coronavirus. And like I'm thinking of, we're doing all the marketing structures behind the scenes at the moment. And I'm like, which angle are we going to take it in? Because it's the best thing that's ever happened in my eyes, and this is why I'm bringing it out. But I need to make sure that for the consumers, they understand why they're buying it.
Yep.
And I think marketing is so important, but it's just being so real. And I think coming across as real, people can see it.
Yeah, well, they put it this way. I don't know if they know if it's real, but they definitely know if it's fake.
They definitely know if it's fake. And
Fake, and the world, like Donald Trump's made an art form of fake.
Yeah.
He's called out the media, fake news, and like it's getting called out everywhere around the world now. So calling out fake now is a new art form.
Yeah, I agree.
And especially with Instagram and Facebook and all the other stuff, there are people who are going to call out fake all the time.
And they can feel it. They can see it.
Yeah.
That's why I've never wanted a brand like that. People always say, with some people that book in, they'll be like, oh, does your product even work? And I say, why don't I come and do your teeth complimentary and you tell me if it works or not? Because I know that it works. But I want people to realise that I'll just show them, because I don't want them to have a little understanding of what it is. And I think if the way you perceive your business and the way you feel about your business, people will feel it.
It's probably, that's really relevant to your generation.
Yeah.
My generation, we don't show anything. So, but your generation, you're really prepared, and all your followers are your generation, and probably older as well. But they're really prepared to be honest.
Yeah.
Your generation is an honesty generation.
We are.
And you'll suss out a fake really quickly.
Couldn't agree more.
And you're quite prepared to tell it. I mean, you know, I've only just become comfortable with that sort of stuff over the last few years, but prior to that, you told nobody anything. Like you didn't reveal anything about anything.
It was keep it behind the books.
Yeah, totally always.
Yeah.
But now that's something that people in my generation got to become comfortable with. But you guys just do it automatically.
Yeah.
Like, and I really do think Instagram has sort of brought that about. I mean, who would actually before be prepared to show what their teeth look like before and after?
We have a lot of people. Mark, before we go, and I know this is almost anyone I really need, this is my favourite question. So for me and you, we both had, well, you had Wizard and I had Sparkling White before. You were Mark Bouris and I was Alison Egan. What was the realisation? How did you become Mark Bouris? Because a lot of people become, let's just say, their name first, and then they're able to leverage off their name to become a business. You and I didn't do that. Correct? Mm-hmm. We had our businesses first. Yep. And then we've become, well, I'm nowhere near like Mark Bouris, but my name's now Alison Egan. How did you do that? How did you become from that?
To be honest, I think others did it for me. I certainly didn't go about it in that way. It sort of grew that way, and I agree. Third-party media did it for me in my day, because it was mostly the newspapers and television stations that picked it up, and Why do you think you out of everyone else? Well, in the beginning, like the very beginning of Wizard, for example, I was like 40, and I was a young guy. I looked I looked younger than 40. So at that time, look older now, but I looked younger than 40. And I think the first ad I ever did for my own business, Wizard, I just got on with a t-shirt on and I had a V-neck jumper on, and I'm doing a television ad about lending people money to buy houses.
People love real.
I didn't know I was doing that. I just thought, I would just go, I'm not wearing a suit. I'm just do that. And then what happened was a lot of the journalists thought, hang on, here's a guy having a crack at the banks. Everyone hated the banks. And here's a guy having a crack at the banks. So I didn't actually say anything bad about banks, but they thought, here's someone sort of taking on the authority or taking on the establishment. So they adopted me. And I was a young bloke, and they thought, hey, we got to put him up. Let's talk to him. And they created this thing around me, not me. And then off the back of that, people like Kerry Packer came along. He must have thought to himself, I don't know, but he must have thought to himself, I can do something with this bloke. And then from their TV shows came up, and so I didn't really set about this. I think it was a function of the time in which the time I was operating, what I was operating in, like I was actually doing something which nobody else would have thought you could do, take the banks on. And it was my age, and it was the way I went about things. I just went about things not wearing a suit, sitting behind a desk, talking to my audience like the banks were doing. I was just sitting in the backyard. My very first ad, I was having a chat to a girl about borrowing money, and she was trying to borrow money, and I was trying to lend to her, and that was what Wizard was doing. And we had a slogan which said, no judgments, just home loans. And people thought, wow, because everyone felt like they're getting judged at the banks. Yep. And I was just saying, well, I'm not going to judge you, I'm just going to lend you money. Yep. You can't say that today, but in those days you could say that. And that resonated well.
It was relatable.
I was just a guy that casual dressed. And I have to be honest with you, though, over time, the media, with The Apprentice, the media started to change me. There was a guy with a suit, and he had a blue, an Armani blue suit on, a white shirt and a blue tie, and it was all, made up and everything like that, makeup and everything. And they started to move me down a different track. And I did it because that's what I was doing. Yeah. Yep. But it wasn't perfectly me. It's not me. This is more me, just cash. I mean, when I came in for this interview, I should tell everyone, I said, well, how do you want me to dress? Like, you want me to wear a shirt, opening shirt? What do you want me to do? And they all said, that's fine.
I want you to be you. Because as I said, this is what I wear every single day, but it's not.
You're in the fashion and beauty industry.
I'm in fashion and beauty, and that's me.
I'm not.
It makes me feel comfortable. It makes me feel powerful. It makes me feel confident in what I do, and I'm sure that's exactly the same as you.
I like to wear a suit if it's like a wedding or something, but I don't feel right in a suit. I just don't feel comfortable.
Same. I have to wear joggers.
I'm like this. This don't feel good. Yeah. And I think my audience, if I go right back to the early Wizard days when I first launched Wizard, my audience resonated with me then and gave me a chance.
Yep. Right
back then. Mm-hmm. They stuck by me during the television series, and today, most people look at me differently. I've matured. I'm not the young bloke anymore, taking on the bank. So I'm sort of, and I don't have the same leverage with the media as I used to have.
Yep.
Because I'm not as important to them as I sort of was in the early days, because I had a personality they could use to make a point. Mm-hmm. Today, I'm one of the establishment to some extent, so they can't really use me, which is why I love having my own mediums. That's why I love having my own podcast, which is why I love doing my own YouTube stuff, because that's my medium and I can be myself.
Yeah.
And I don't have to rely on them.
And you're absolutely incredible, Mark. I've had the best time with you on here today. We were talking about it before. It's been incredible, and you're one of the biggest legends, as I always tell you. You're so inspirational and you're so freaking real. I love you so much.
Thanks
Thank you
for
coming on.
Thanks, Alison.